What's up guys, my code AIR on G Fuel is 30% off starting today, so make sure to take advantage of that, stock up on one of your favorites or try out some new flavors. Go ahead and click the link in the comments description, it'll take you straight to the store and automatically apply my discount code. In today's video, we're going to be finally going over, does Dragonfly Spec work with the Salvager Salvo and chain reaction? There's been a rumor that's been spreading person to person that it does work on this weapon and with chain reaction in general, and it's been spreading so fast that it's nearly become fact overnight. So in this video, I just want to go ahead and test to see if it actually does or not, and kind of end that rumor or confirm it. So what Dragonfly Spec does is it increases the radius and damage of Dragonfly. So when this spec first came out, the way I tested it was rounding up a bunch of Thrall and shooting one of them and let the explosion kill the rest of the Thrall and see what the highest number was, and do that over and over again until I got, a good answer. Then I did the same thing with Dragonfly Spec and compared the different numbers. But with this being a GL, it's pretty much impossible to do it on, a group of low health enemies because the grenade launcher itself will kill all of them. So instead what I have to do is get a red bar enemy near a boss, then let the explosion hit the boss and see what that number is, and try to see if I can ever find, the highest number and repeat that number multiple times to confirm that is like the max damage it can do. So that is what I did on Carl, and as you see, at first I hit 8726, which was pretty high, but I kept doing it and I finally got to a number 8753, and that was the highest number I ever saw, and I could repeat that number multiple times. I hit it like 10 plus times on Carl, and this first batch of clips is without Dragonfly Spec on, and like I said, I repeated that number multiple times. It was the highest number I saw, so it's pretty safe to confirm that 8753 is the highest it can hit without Dragonfly Spec. Now we go ahead and put Dragonfly Spec on and do the same testing to see if the number goes up. Well, as you see, very quickly I discovered that 8753 was once again the highest number I ever saw, and I could recreate that number multiple times, and for it to be that exact number multiple times and the highest number I've ever seen, it is pretty safe to assume that that is also the highest it can hit with Dragonfly Spec. So Dragonfly Spec is not increasing the damage of chain reaction, but the thing is, when I looked back at my old Dragonfly Spec testing with Dragonfly perk itself, it did not increase the damage of the explosions. Our running theory at the time was that Dragonfly Spec would add a secondary invisible explosion, which would pretty much just double the Dragonfly going on. But in that theory, it's obviously invisible, and you can't see the damage numbers, and you can't even see the explosion itself. So how would we even go about testing that on a grenade launcher to see if it's working the same way on chain reaction? Pretty hard question to answer, but I figured out a test I could try to confirm or deny this happening, and that was to be in private match in Crucible. And that was to have two people in the exact same spot and do multiple runs without Dragonfly Spec and multiple runs with it on, and try to see if the health bar changed and moved differently with Dragonfly Spec on it, because that would account for hidden damage that we can't necessarily see in the numbers. So we did it 3 times without Dragonfly Spec on first, and pretty much every single time it barely broke his shields or did a little bit more damage after the first bar, and it was pretty consistent. Now with Dragonfly Spec on, it does pretty much the exact same damage every single time, just as it was without. So this kind of confirms that there is no hidden secondary explosion going on with hidden damage. So our PV test seems to be pretty true so far, that damage does not increase in any way. So the only thing left to really test for Dragonfly Spec is the radius, so doing pretty much the same test. So now if we have Alex stand really far away, pretty much at the edge of the explosion, and test that multiple times without Dragonfly Spec on and then with it on, and see if, the radius of the damage is bigger, or if the explosion is hitting at further ranges. And now doing the same thing with Dragonfly Spec on, the damage at that range is pretty much the exact same. So what I did was scoot him a little bit further away every single shot to try to find like the max range of the explosion. And once we've kind of found where that was, which is going to be this upcoming clip right here, I went ahead and took off Dragonfly Spec, and it still hit at the exact same range. So it's not increasing the radius, it's not increasing the damage. I mean, it just seems that Dragonfly Spec is absolutely doing nothing to the weapon. So out of the 3 tests I came up with to test if Dragonfly Spec works with chain reaction, all 3 of them showed signs that it does absolutely nothing to the weapon and the perk. So I gotta say, it's pretty safe to say it does not work with chain reaction. And the only remaining tests you could do are pretty much all feeling based. So you just put it on and say, oh, it feels better, but obviously that is not scientific in almost any way, and pretty much all the results would be placebo almost every single time. I've now used this weapon with Dragonfly Spec and without Dragonfly Spec multiple times. I have over 3,500 kills with the weapon, and I'd say about half of it is with Dragonfly Spec and half is without it. and I can tell you there pretty much is no difference. It feels the exact same no matter what. I think a lot of people got this weapon, then heard the rumor of Dragonfly Spec working with it, and put the spec on pretty early into their time with the weapon itself, and then when they used it, they're like, oh, this feels really good, but didn't realize that, you know, it always feels that good, even without the spec on. Well, since Dragonfly Spec does not work on the Salvager Salvo, what should you be using? Well, I think the next best choice will be Radar Booster for that increased radar distance. No, I'm just kidding. Obviously, it would probably be Major Spec because it's going to be able to one-hit most red bars, and you're going to be shooting this thing at Majors also, so why not get that extra 7% damage? And one final thing for this video is I've been using a build with this GL and chain reaction a bunch, and even though I already showed it off in a video, I still get questions on stream about it. So I'm going to go ahead and just mouse over all the things I'm using in the build right here and show off a little bit of gameplay with it too in the video. Anyways, that's going to be it for the commentary. Thanks for watching. Catch you guys next time.